Hello, everybody. Welcome to NLC Division 2. It's a Thursday. It's the last day of the first round robin, and it might not be a super week, but we've got 5 super games to bring you today. Vibrant and Solari will be bringing you all the action this evening. Solari, first time casting with me. How are you? How are you feeling? How's the apprehension?
I'm so happy to be back on Division 2. I mean, I kind of was on Division 1 this week and I liked it, but Division 2 just feels so, it feels like coming back home in a sort. I missed it. I missed the teams we have, and I'm so happy to be back in action.
It's going to be a really exciting one. In fact, I believe our producer has the games that we're going to be bringing you live if he wants to bring up the graphic read. Do it. Thank you. It's Lucent Munster Rugby Gaming to start us off. We're going to be closing out with Natives Unique, which is going to be our match of the day. Solari, are there any matches here that really catch your eye?
I would say the first one, actually. It really has my eye completely on this one, and I can't wait to start this game because Lucent looks so strong. They are on a crazy winning streak right now. 5 wins in a row. That's massive. So I wonder, is Munster going to be the one to actually stop this winning streak for them and try to fight for the first place versus them? I don't know, and I need to see what's gonna happen.
Yeah, obviously Munster are on a very good run right now. Whether Munster's an interesting beast, right? Because we had all those changes in the earlier stages. Lucent, of course, down in 8th place. Well, 8th, 9th place at the moment, not necessarily performing the way that we'd hoped that they would be at this point in the season. But there's always an opportunity, and of course, this Munster Rugby Gaming team is still bedding in, as it were, and they've looked very, very strong since then. You've got players like Shakal, who's obviously an absolute monster. Very, very excited to see how he's going to go today. And of course, we've got Lightside in the middle of the day in that the meet in the NLC Division 2 sandwich. They're 7-1 right now, looking to get their 8th win of the season. And this Lightside team looking really, really good. Domino's still in those playoff places right now. So I think that one has the potential to be a very interesting matchup.
I'm also looking at the fourth match, to be honest, because Guarp is the team that I saw in the summer promotions. I was casting some of their games. I saw them winning some games in a very dominating way. And I want to see how actually they are looking in the current split, because they're not having the best of the time sitting on the 8th place. They still have chances to climb up because they need some wins, definitely, but they still have the chance because we still have the second part of the double round robin before us. I need to see how they're doing right now. I need to see them back.
It is, and I mean, for Guap, they're a team that we've seen very mixed things from. Occasionally they can step up and they can beat those top teams verifiably. I'm just looking through my notes here, and they've actually beaten Lightside and Natives as their 2 wins, who are 2 of the top 3 teams ranked right now. Although there's a lot of teams in that top 5 who are on a similar kind of
Yes.
idea. Lightside head and shoulders above the others, but then you've got Natives, Munster, Rate, Unique, all sitting on that 5-3 scoreline. London United at the bottom of the table right now. So this is an opportunity for Guap to say, look, we're actually a team that's higher up in the table than you. Let's try and grab ourselves a win. That being said, historically, Guap have been unable to do that because they can only really step up to these very, very tippy top teams. And I'm going to be ecstatic if Lightside win their game against Domino. It means the first round robin, Guap are the only team that were able to fell them, which is great for the league because it shows the Lightside are a super dominant force here. But it also shows that Guap, they can turn up and ruin someone's day, which is always interesting. And of course, to prevent this from being the only game we don't talk about, Rate versus Rising Esports, second of the day. 2 newer organizations, of course, Rate getting their spot midway through last split, Rising Esports first time at this time around. Both of them having mixed fortunes, Rate looking pretty decent, Rising Dawn on their day looking quite strong, but unable to do that consistently, having a 4-4 standing right now. I think that one will have quite a lot of interest as well.
I think we need to look at all the games, to be honest, because right now, as you just said before, the standings look super crowded. Everybody is pretty much sitting on the very same spots, 5, 3, 4, 4. We have a lot of teams on these 2 and 6 places just crowded together. And I feel like after today, these standings can change quite a lot because for everybody right now, it's about those small wins and losses that they're getting throughout the split. Every win absolutely counts for everybody, not just your own win or loss, but also the wins and losses of the other teams as well can do so much for your own standing.
Absolutely. And with things being so tight, as you mentioned, it's every game matters, every game counts. And when we come to the end of this first round robin, this will be kind of a foreshadowing of the end of the day conversation. we can start looking at how these teams really stack up in this league, because you can talk about strength of schedule. You can talk about when teams play what teams. You can say, look, after week 2, it's fine. We lost all of those games, but they were against top 4 teams, so it's going to be absolutely fine. No excuses at the end of the first round, Robin. And while in Division 2, we've seen some shifts and some changes in terms of personnel, Munster was forced to do it by, we're not going to talk a whole situation. But a couple of other teams have got a couple of new players come in. There have been teams that have been subbing players in and out as well. We can start sitting down and say things are settling. Now we know who are the dominant forces. Who are the teams that are going to be looking up? Because remember, Division 1 promotions happen at the end of this split. A couple of these teams will be trying to fight their way into the top division, which is, ERL level, European Masters potentially. Access to that big prize pool that they can fight for. Teams at the bottom, they're looking towards relegation. Both rosters that went into relegation last season are no longer here in Division 2 because they lost out to the likes of Guap and Rising Dawn Esports. So, I mean, it's all to play for every single team in this league, with things being so close.
And we have 10 teams right now. And if I remember correctly, only 6 are progressing into the playoffs, right? So it's super packed. These 6 places, I don't think that right now we have the strong 6 teams that are sitting on the top. Everybody really needs to fight for them. And let's see how the first 2 teams are going to fight for their places. I'm so happy to be back in the draft.
We're in draft. We've got Lucent on the blue side. We've got Munster Rugby Gaming on the red. We'll have to see if there's any crazy pickups on this one. But Aurelia and Poppy are going to be the first 2 bans taken away.
You want to take them away from the top lane, but I'm also thinking about the bot lane and the jungle. In this current meta, these are the lanes that you have the priority for the bans and for the picks. Thinking of the things that can change the game completely for you, like Wukong, Volibear in the jungle, or thinking about the hyper carries that are already being banned out for us, including Aurelia, but I'm mostly thinking about bot lane, Sen, Lucent, Zeri potentially as well, and Twitch, or the Twitch-Yumi combination, for example, is also no longer an option for us.
Yeah, the Yumi's been removed. The Nami, of course, is a very powerful support.
Yeah.
Don't play Nami Marksman. That'd be very bad. But with the Lucent takeover table,
but better not.
If you want to try it, your LP is not my issue. Reed, I'm sure you have. The Wukong's been banned, which means that we've got Gwen and Lilia, the 2 that are screaming at me, still being up. Viego as well has seen some priority, so we'll have to see where they want to focus.
It depends on whether you pick Volibear or Viego right now. For example, for the jungle, it will strongly define your game, because with Volibear, you're looking into a very active and aggressive early game. You want to take the advantage of the potential tower dives that you can get on the side lanes. With Viego, you definitely look more into the late game. And with the Corki pickup right now, I'm already seeing the potential for the late game here for both games, but for both teams rather, potentially. Yes, it's probably going to be Viegas. Looking at Victor, it's also the champion that is going to scale into the later game, so you might want to pick him and make sure that you drag the game for long and just make sure he has the safe lane. And Viego pretty much allows you to have the late game carry potential and just a lot of damage in the late game. But in the early game, it can be pretty tricky with him because he doesn't have that much influence on the lanes.
You do have to have some priority. You have to have some owners on your laners, and that's going to be the Victor locked in there. So a bit of wave control against this Corki. It's a classic matchup. The Azir, of course, is the other safe wave clearing option that could have been going into Harbo's hands, but decides towards the Victor. Interesting that they picked it in R2 rather than R3, because now they've given over priority not only of a counterpick jungler for Lucent, and you mentioned the Volibear being super strong, likely to be the lock in here, but it also gives the opportunity to grab something like the Zeri, which hasn't been banned away, and say, look, we're going to get our priority on Marksman. Lucian's gone, Senna's gone. What are you going to respond with?
You need the priority marksman, and you also need some more scaling into the late game. On the other hand, I feel like from Munster right now, they need to pick some lane that is going to be dominating in the early game, because you already have the scaling jungle and the mid lane. You need prio either on the bot lane or on the top lane. Potentially, you might not get the pick on the strong bot laner right now. Still need to see what is going to be that pick. It's going to be Ezreal, so Zeri is still available, but we have 4 more bans coming, so I would not be surprised if she joins there as well. But for the top lane, you have some strong options. You have Camille, you have Gwen, necessarily not that much for the early game, but you still have some options available for the early game top lane as well.
I need to decide what's going to be going into this Ezreal. We've seen Fuyu pilot this one a couple of times. He's very, very capable. A little bit aggressive for my taste with those E's, doing the old Crown E where you just dive forward and get the damage off. It's going to be the Jinx in response. So Zeri completely ignored, but you're talking about scaling. You're talking about a team that wants to hear later and later. Munster Rugby Gaming is saying, look, we want to do this. We've got tools for days and we get to the 25-30 minute mark. My question really going into bans and then having to pick up mainly the top laner, they need a lane they can play around in the early stages. And Victor and Jinx aren't really that unless we get something hyper aggressive from support like a Blitzcrank. So now I'm looking at Skewer and saying, hey, what are you going to be picking up? What are you going to allow Shakal to play around if that's even going to be the direction they want to go down?
You can try to pick something like Nautilus for Jinx and try to set up a little bit more aggression, but then with Nautilus and Jinx, you still would like to have the attention of your jungle on the lane to make sure that you can secure the kill, because in early game after the durability patch, it can be pretty hard for you to lack enough damage, especially with a Volibear who can join the lane and make sure that you're not getting any kills at all. On the other hand, I am absolutely loving the Karma ban coming from Munster here, because you don't want the Karma paired up with Ezreal. We saw some crazy combination with Ezreal and Bard yesterday in Division 1, where Bard was completely leaving Ezreal alone and Ezreal was suffering from that. But I don't want this to happen here, to be honest. Ezreal is going to have hard time against Jinx if he's being left alone, so he needs the support that is going to protect him, but also try to stay with him, maybe not necessarily roam as much, as to make sure that Ezreal leaves and can farm up to Jinx level.
We're going to have the Gnar lock-in, so something a little bit more aggressive at the top side for Skewer, something that can be played around slightly. And as you mentioned, they're considering an Enchanter on the other side, the Lulu. The Janna, of course, we've seen a little bit of a resurgence. We saw Kisling on that yesterday, which...
Yes, I was so happy.
But...
Really?
Yeah, Enchanters, it's not the one. But we're going to be also seeing what's going to go into that Gnar, because counterpick has been given over to Dokai in support, and it's going to be the Gangplank up against it, which is going to be a very fascinating matchup where a little bit of the scaling is on towards that top side for Lucent as well. I'm just thinking, do they want to go for something like Lulu Janna? Are they going to want to go for something like Little Pants' Rel, which can be very, very supportive? There are plenty of supports. I'm not going to talk about every single one of them, but it could be looking like kind of a little bit of Enchanter, a little bit of Engage, you know, give yourself the options.
Exactly. Rakan is the perfect something in between the Engage and the Enchanter. He's providing the sustainability, the support for his team, but also he's not necessarily the only Engage. If he's the only one engaging, he dies. But you already have Volibear, you already have Corki in your team. Volibear can be the fire starter for you in the team fights, and then Rakan has an excellent follow-up to someone's Engage in the team fight. So it's a very good pick for the bot lane. He can still be roaming, but he can also stay in the lane to make sure that, because it's Nautilus in the end for Jinx, as I was thinking it's going to happen, he is going to try to catch for that Ezreal if he's ever left alone. And Ezreal only has one dash available for him. That's not too much mobility. It can be hard to get away from Nautilus.
Absolutely, and this Nautilus does unlock the opportunity for... We were saying, look, they're playing for late game. They might not necessarily have lanes that they want to super play around in the earliest stages. You've got Jinx Nautilus down in the bot lane. There are no slouches if you can get a decent CC chain coming off. And if Dokai can unlock himself and move out of the lane, Little Pants, whether he wants to stay with Fuyu or back away, it's an Ezreal, so you can kind of leave him to his own devices. And you should be safe. I have seen Fuyu play this champion before, so...
Yeah.
Sometimes he's not safe when you think he maybe should be, but it does give the opportunity for Munster Rugby Gaming to move around the map. Looking at these two compositions that we've got going into our first game of the day, is there one that you're preferring? Is there one that's really exciting you moving into this first matchup?
I would say they have pretty similar ideas in them. I'm seeing a little bit of mirroring between these two teams, with just the difference in the jungle where you have more proactivity available for you in the early game for Lucent. So that's why I would like to lean towards them a little bit if they manage to utilize this Volibear potential that they have in their hands. If they're proactive enough around the bot lane, the top lane, they can secure this game for themselves without dragging it into the late game. If they don't allow the game to be the 35 plus minutes, I think they have a very good chance of winning this one.
So to see how it goes when we get on to Rift in our first game of the day, but I'm just mentally preparing myself. The meta is slow, it's methodical. These two teams have clearly drafted for that. So it might be a little bit of a long one. I'm looking at Downdom, especially, and saying, hey, Fred, if you want to get things moving in the early stages, if you want to get some ganks going, especially around level 6, when you can go for those tower dives, of course.
Yes.
Feeling much less confident about tower diving as a general when it came onto 12-10 because of those tower changes, the damage that they can pull off. Volibear came about in kind of the same time. And I feel like, yeah, Volibear is very strongest on his own. But that ability to make tower diving at 6 super, super easy probably had a part to play. And it does allow for teams to be a little bit more aggressive.
The tower damage has been nerfed a little bit recently, so it's a little bit easier to try to have some crazy plays around the turrets. But yeah, Volibear is the counter pick against the current meta, I would say. And he's, yeah, as you said, he's strong in general, but getting this level 6 as early as possible is a very huge priority for you, especially if you get it before the enemy jungler. If you get it before the enemy bot lane, you have just a great opening for you to go in and give the kills to your own bot lane.
I'm also going to be interested to see if he wants to do anything aggressive onto Viego, because while Viego's got quite a safe play, he's not necessarily someone who's super spooked about being invaded, the same way that you might see like Karthus, for example, a champion who we've seen a little bit. If you get invaded on Karthus, you feel very, very bad about life as you run away and then die, and it's a whole thing. Viego's not really like that, but his ability to gank is quite telegraphed. You're not necessarily going to be spooked and surprised by Viego unless you're doing something very wrong or he's being very, very creative. And Shakal, of course, is a player who can be very, very creative with gank paths. We've seen it already this season. However, Dandom has got this onus, and he's definitely the player to watch in the early stages for me especially, and deciding where to play around. When you've got a lanes of Gangplank at the top side who can do a decent amount of damage but isn't necessarily this big, hey, gank my lane early because that's what we want to do with our lives. Corki mid, who's kind of similar, maybe comes alive a little bit sooner, maybe has a little bit more, but doesn't really provide anything that notable in a gank situation. He's just a bit of damage. You look towards bot side, you've got Ezreal or Rakan who, hey, have some opportunities, but is that really the lane that you're going to be ganking for? Lucent have a lot of questions to answer. The Volibear has certainly got questions to answer as we move on to the Rift. Lucent versus Munster Rugby Gaming. Very, very exciting times indeed.
Oh, yes. The Summoner's Rift, back to it again. I am looking at the keystones on the side of Lucent. I see 2 first strikes already for Ezreal and for Corki. They want to be the ones starting the fight, and as we discussed already during the draft, they have the possibilities, they have the opportunities to start the fights, to be the engagers, and I want to see them getting to the mid game. I want to see them starting to group up and actually utilizing all the tools, because they have a lot of them in their hands. It's just a question of execution right now.
And I think that's a very interesting point, because they've gone for this first strike financially. That can be quite a nice decision. And when Ezreal and Corki already hit those item spikes a little bit earlier than you see from the Victor and the Jinx, just because Victor and Jinx traditionally want to be going for those keystone items, not keystone, those mythic items first, whereas with Corki and Ezreal especially, you might be looking for a tier item, you might be looking for something slightly different. You are likely to get online with that first item spike a little bit sooner. Getting that first strike on them and having that advantage against an airy and a lethal tempo, which are much more combat, later game fighting, poking situations, it does mean that Lucent might get to the mid game a little bit sooner, which, when they've already got this slightly more aggressive jungle, could mean that if they do manage to get a small snowball going in the earlier stages, that they can really take this game by the scruff of the neck.
Absolutely. The early snowball is what I'm expecting from them, with the composition they have, with the mindset that I see behind what they drafted for themselves. They need to go for something starting as early as possible, and then to just not give Munster the opportunity to farm up, because if you leave Jinx alone, she will farm up and she will become very dangerous if she has some money fueled into her pocket. She doesn't need the kills, she needs the money. She doesn't care where exactly she's getting it from. When she gets the money, when she gets to her items, she is going to come into the team fights, and then she doesn't care how bad the beginning was for her. She is going to be very dangerous.
And that's kind of a noticeable tempo of this current meta, is champions who are like, I'm not really that fussed about losing early as long as the team doesn't lose, because I'm still going to be super useful. And it's been the stage of bot lane for a long, long time, because Jinx has been around the bot lane meta for a decent amount of time, which is nice. I like seeing Jinx in my League of Legends games. Not really averse to that one. I mean, more so than like currently like Wukong. That's not fun.
Oh,
it's just not fun for anyone when he's locked in. But Dandom has moved towards this bot side, and you can see here Lil Pants just feeling things out, getting a little bit of poke down, can very safely do so as Rakan, being able to dive in and out. But I don't know if either junglers are going to have a massive opening, but Shakal might have to just ward off and guard his bot lane a little bit.
Dandom had the opportunity, now he's recalling it. He's not going to go to the bot lane and do there anything, but he decided to opt in for an early full clear. Now he's recalling to get some items and continue, potentially after the Scuttle Crab getting to either the top side or the mid side, or trying to invade Viego's jungle, where Viego is going to take a little bit more time to get on his I cannot see. I'm blind. He's level 3 still, right? It's white on white.
Mhm.
How am I supposed to see Viego's level ever? I have the problem with this champion, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, he's level 3, he's just hit 4, has that last camp that he's just clearing out a little bit slower than the volley there, but did go towards that scuttle first, so he has already got that one in his bank. Dokai needs to be a little bit careful. I don't think he's under massive pressure yet, but a move forward from Fu quite aggressively means that there's some damage coming down. Ruvelius is going to force Flash out a little pants, but Fu's turning the damage around. Dokai not really healthy enough to re-engage, but he's going to be able to body block with that shield. Everyone gets away, and actually, the only summoners but were on those supports. Harbour in the mid lane, however, might be in trouble. Dandom unable to do too much, but Kurosh looking for one more auto. Will be able to find it, flashing away from the tower. First blood, Lucent.
Scary flashing away from the tower, but indeed, first blood with the aggression that we expected to see from the jungler coming level 4 to the mid lane and making sure that they take away the flash from Victor. They will probably... No, he's walking back, so the teleport... No, he teleported, right? He teleported.
Yeah.
You took away both summoner spells from that mid laner, and now you have your mid laner already starting to snowball a little bit. And it's very important for Koki. He wants to have some of that early aggression for him. He wants to go for the items as soon as possible. Ooh, he was in danger when it began.
Yeah, I mean, Harbour was the one just stepping forward to try and get the... to stop the recall, which he managed to do, but then Dandom just coming in, of course, off that ramp. It's hard to spot out. I'm just looking at the flash. The flash just really didn't go anywhere. Tries to get the stun line. Does manage to get onto Dandom, but ultimately, just a little bit of greed there. Feeling a little bit safe when he had no vision covering that top side.
Exactly. That was the problem for him. That is what led to his death. Both of mid laners didn't have much mana available for them. And if you're in such situation and you're not full health, you need to be very cautious about how much vision do you have around you. You know there is Volibear in the enemy team. You need to understand that he's going to try to come to your lane and punish you for being a little bit too aggressive. And that's exactly what happened.
And it puts Lucent on the board, which they're going to be very happy about. And we already mentioned that champions like Corki are going to maybe get online very slightly sooner than lane opponents like Victor, giving him the first blood gold, getting him that tier and those many long swords.
It's a lot of long swords.
Every long sword at this point, but it's definitely a good start for Lucent. And if you can unlock that Corki a little bit sooner, maybe you can start looking to roam around, get some work done. However, you can already see Dokai moving up towards that one, maybe trying to get a gank off, but was spotted out by a ward and will be forced to back away.
In the meantime, there was a dragon picked up by Munster, so they're trying to play around objectives. When the Herald comes, it's actually an opening for them to try to do something about the slight goal difference that is now in favor of Lucent. But, oh my god, I think we have a gank here.
Oh, Skewer not able to find the ultimate backwards, so Shkar can't really follow up. And this, again, shows it was very, very telegraphed, because he has to get that movement speed down and try to sneak in. He's invisible, but not that invisible. And he won't be able to do that much. Dandom's level 6 and looking towards the back of Harbo's tower, but he's maybe a little bit too healthy to dive safely.
I think it's more about the bot side right now. He already gave a kill to the mid laner, and now maybe it's time to start snowballing the bot lane as well, or at least trying to shut down Jinx, because she's not having the easiest time. She's not farming too much, but you want to do more.
Oh, Dandom now looking towards Revelius. Will ult down, but doesn't turn off any towers. That's fine. He turns attention towards Dokai and secures the kill. The tankiness will see him away from Revelius with only a scratch. A Lucent pick up a second.
And it's such a good kill distribution so far. Yes, there is a lot of Volibear in the lanes, but look at that. The 2 kills that are in his team right now, he gave them away to the carries. To those who need these kills the most. He's happy to get just the assist for himself. And now Ezreal is left alone on the bot lane. He's also picking up the turret plates. He is getting quite some gold in his pockets. And again, he's quite ahead compared to Jinx in terms of the CS. So he is winning this lane. And look at the gold difference on the bot lane. It's 1,000 between the 2 bot laners.
It's really good because you look at mid lane, Kurosh obviously got that first blood. He used that as a band-aid to keep himself competitive in that mid lane. He's got a 300 gold lead, which is less than you'd get. Ooh, he's all right. He's smart enough to know not to go in there, but Dokai actually might want to drag him in. Nice dodge away from the Rakan. Then in the bot side, absolutely Fu is the one who's got that massive lead, and really a lot of the gold lead in this game. It's only 2k across the board for Lucent at the moment. And the fact of the matter is, again, Ezreal's a champion who can come online a little bit sooner than Jinx can. Therefore, give him a little bit of a snowballed lead and things will look quite good. Munster Rugby Gaming on the top side want to be able to grab themselves this Rift Herald, should be able to do so quite simply. So Shkal has an opportunity to try and invest some gold. Is there a lane where you'd like to see this Rift Herald thrown down?
Potentially mid lane, because you want to help this Victor recover a little bit better. He's farming up, but you might want to give him a little boost. You cannot really give him kills just yet, so you might want to give him the gold. I must look at the bot lane. Jinx is really suffering right now. You might want to try to give her some boost, but will you be able to do so? Because I feel like right now Lucent have so much prio at the bot side of the map. I don't think you can safely unleash the Herald just yet. Maybe wait a little bit, see how the lanes will progress, and then make your decision. Not just yet.
And this is even more true when you look at the top lane. DBL, of course, on the Gangplank. We haven't really talked about this lane too much.
Yes.
Because it's been quite quiet, but he has the ultimate coming up in the not too distant future. And he's going to be able to impact that bot lane. If he sees a Rift Herald going down in the next couple of minutes, you're actually stepping up towards him. Shakal trying to get some nice stun into stun. And just as I talk about him, the cast occurs, DBL goes down.
Oh, I absolutely love Gna on the top lane, but wait, we have more action on the mid lane.
Revelius is already very, very low. Dokai going to flash behind the tower. The ultimate hasn't been used yet by Volley, but the damage coming through, he doesn't even need it as Lucent delete 2. The nice cross map means that they can pick up a couple of plates as well.
The plates, the 2 kills compared to 1 kill on the top lane, that is just so good for Lucent. For 1, they go already. But one quick thing about the Gna that I wanted to say, I love seeing Gna and I love seeing teams playing around the Gna because his Mega Gna form is super crucial. And when you approach team fights or any smaller skirmishes on the lane or anywhere else, you want to play around this form. And you could see that his Fury was already almost to the top when Shakal was there on the top lane. And they timed it up perfectly for themselves and they managed to get DBL in the position where he was just stuck between the Gna and the wall, and that's not the position where you want to be when there is a Mega Gna coming.
You really don't, and that allows Shakal to be able to get his stun off, the damage coming through, and they're going to be able to take the top tower first of the game, secured by Munster Rugby Gaming, which will band-aid things a little bit. Obviously, nah, not necessarily the person you want to get all of that gold onto, but we're going to be able to see exactly what happened in this bot lane, because we came to it a little bit late.
Yes.
Oh, no, we're not, because there's going to be a fight in the bot lane right now. This is live, as Dokai will be able to get away. Now, Mr. Producer, we're going to need 2 replays.
Or at least 1. At least 1.
You've got to demand. When it's read on the camera, you've got to demand nothing but the best. But this is the first play we saw. Why don't you talk us through it?
So, we have a very good setup with the Rakan here, going on, making sure that the control is up and running on the monster. There is only level 5 on Nautilus, so you know he's not going to be replied with a depth charge. And you have Volibear with you to make sure that you can tower dive safely. And there is also the mid laner coming to you in case there is any additional support needed. You have such a massive numbers advantage. There is absolutely no way that Monster can do anything about it. They cannot really run away to their inner turret because there is Volibear just cutting this path out for them. And it's an easy tower dive for you. You don't even need to try too hard for it. You go, you take the kills, you go away happily.
Yeah, and again, it's the Rakan getting that really nice double knock-up Dandom there with the stun, and it's not a good day to be a Monster Rugby bot laner, really, because you're getting so much focus. And we talked about saying, look, Dandom, which lane are you going to want to play around? And it is the bot lane that he's been to, and he's had super huge success there. Fuyu has got 3 kills under his belt. Has already got that Essence Reaver and stacking up that tier quite nicely. The gold, as you can see, is 3.1k gold lead. Not for the team, just for Fuyu.
Oh my god, this is massive already. The difference on the bot lane is absolutely crazy. The little issue I'm seeing here in the Munster's bot lane is that as Nautilus, you want to be standing next to your AD carry all the time because you are very good mid-shield, so to say, plus with a Guardian, you want to proc that to make sure you protect your AD carry. But when you have Rakan on the enemy team, that's exactly what you don't want to be doing, because, as you said, it's going to be double knock-up, and it's going to be an easy kill for the enemy team.
And now we're just heading back towards that mid lane. Kurosh just trying to control that one. Is, again, falling a little bit behind in terms of farm. The first blood's doing a bit of work for him. Nice catch out onto Dokai, looking for the rotation. He goes low and will actually fall. Dandom securing that kill as Jakal runs away, scrapping back towards his tower. Skew's there as well, but the Narbar is not full, so he's going to be forced to back away. We've still got a minute on these tower plates, and it looks like Lucent want to cash in a couple in the top side onto Fuyu once again.
I just looked at the timer and I was a little bit shocked to see that we still have the turret plates available for quite some time, because it's so many kills and so much action in the early game with the current meta that's not something you see in every game. But I'm definitely happy to see that Lucent realized that they had to be super proactive, super aggressive with their draft, and they're executing it very nicely. We're saying that it's up to the execution, it's rather down to the execution in this game, and they're doing whatever they can to have their carries up and running as early as possible. 3-0 to Ezreal with already 400 gold bounty bounty on his head. That is already the Ezreal that you have online for you.
Kurosh just taking a bit of a bad time, but this is what we talked about. We said Lucent want to be getting into the mid game a little bit sooner than their opponent. And initially it looked like, hey, they can do it with their items being a little bit cheaper. But they could also do it by being hilariously far ahead. Because you can already see Fuyu, 1.5 items, full boots as well, up against Revelius, who's got a couple of swords and a pickaxe. Hasn't even got his Noom Quiver yet, down on the Jinx. So there's a real world where Fuyu could be 2 items in, looking towards potentially his Mythic if he wants to go into that 1/3. Before Revelius has what could be the Gale Force, could be the Kraken Slayer when you're playing Jinx. And at that point, teamfighting is going to be impossible, even though Jinx, as you mentioned, can get to 40 minutes and is like, lane phase sucked, but that's fine because I'm Jinx with 3 items. But this Ezreal is going to have such an advantage going into fighting over stuff like 3rd Drake, 2nd Herald Baron, even taking down these Siege and Towers. Revelius isn't going to get there.
Exactly. Will they allow these Jinx to get to 3-item Jinx? Because I don't think so. For Lucent, it's about finishing the game before this actually happens. They cannot let the game drag into the late game because, oh, look at the Volibear.
Oh, going in. Harbor goes low. Will have to back away. Gets the ultimate down, which might actually save his life as he does ride back towards the top lane where Viego is waiting. And on the bot side, though, DBL might be caught out in 2v1. Skewers there, so is Revelius. He's going to try and look to get away. The ultimate blown from the Jinx for a little bit more damage, but flashing over the Chompers does see Gangplank away.
He saves himself and he kind of saves his team here as well. You don't want to give kills to the Jinx. Still, 0-2. She's not feeling anywhere near feeling well. But still, you don't want to give her any kills right now. You don't want to try to accelerate her in this game. She's going for the Kraken Slayer in the end, and this is an understandable decision. I can see how you can use the Gale Force for the mobility in the team fights, but you need all the damage you can get in your hands, and you need that true damage coming from that Kraken Slayer. You need to put something on the table and be useful as quickly as possible. Plus, with the Gale Force, with some nerfs that it's seen to the cooldowns of its active, of the movement actually, of the dash that you get, I can see why we see more Jinx players opting into the Kraken Slayer more and more often.
Absolutely. I mean, the only fear for me is you're still going to be very caught out by all of that engage coming mainly from the Rakan.
Yes.
But if you as Munster Rugby Gaming can find a way of stopping this Rakan from Little Pants from getting these engagers, staying a little bit spread out, maybe disengaging him, killing the Rakan even, could be quite nice before team fights. Because that way the engage is going to be Dandom driving on through, and that's not premium engage. That's not something that you want to be looking at as, yes, this is our go button for a team fight, this is amazing. It's not Malphite ultimate, for example. It's not Sejuani ultimate. It's just a Volibear diving into the back line. So if Jinx can position very well, and that's what's going to be called on because you haven't gone for that Gale Force, you are going to be able to melt through the engages as they come in.
Absolutely correct about the positioning in the team fights is going to be so crucial for Jinx. And I have seen team fights that have been turned around by Jinx just knowing where exactly she needs to be standing to make sure that nobody can get to her and she can just keep putting the damage on the table. It's going to be very hard here because, again, Rakan and Volibear, they will try to make sure that, the deep charge is going in, but
Shakan's going over the wall, the aggression coming on through. This might be brave though, doesn't manage to get the ultimate, doesn't manage to get the reset down as he dives away using the Corki package. Small package this time around though, obviously, and Munster Rugby Gaming will escape with their kill. They've also got themselves 2nd Herald, which might give them an opportunity to try and break down another one of these objectives. Munster Rugby Gaming, they're down, but they're still fighting.
You don't have the turret plates anymore, but you can still try to push forward and try to get some prio on any of the lanes because you desperately need to fight for the prio in order to be able to put more vision in the jungle and try to catch somebody from Lucent, because in the team fights right now, you don't really have very good potential because Lucent are so far ahead from you. But as we just saw what happened here, trying to catch for somebody for the individual targets being off guard, misstepping here and there on the map. Try to catch them, try to kill them on spot, and try to bounce from there. That's what's happening with Viego. Already 2 kills in his pocket. The Trinity Force is available for him. Something that could potentially lead Munster into jumping back in the game and being fully online, but we need to wait to see that.
I mean, still a little bit worried for them.
Yeah.
I'm still looking towards that bot side. The Mythic, of course, having been picked up by Jinx. Ezreal already looking towards that 3rd item. Could be a Surrender's Grudge looking like with those items, unless he wants to go heavily into killing some of those tanks, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to be Ezreal's focus this game. DBL could be worried. There's members of Munster there, but it feels like he smells something's afoot and will back away from the tower as they reveal themselves.
We have still 2.5 minutes before the Drake. The Herald is being popped up on the bot lane. Obviously, with so many members here, you want to try to push for that prio because you have one Drake. There are 2 Drakes available for Lucent. You don't want to get them to the soul point and eventually to the soul because we have the Ocean Soul. It is a very strong soul in the prolonged team fights that we're seeing happening more and more often in the current meta. You don't want to give it away to Lucent. It will give them a very nice advantage in the team fights. Oh, it's going to be the second blink. Yes! Oh, it was so close though.
It was, and in the top side, Harbo, I think he probably goes down here. Fuyu picks up another. He's on a rampage and might be able to grab an evening tower on the top side to make this a 1-for-1 tower exchange. But our second charge is really nice for Munster because it allows them something to play around a little bit easier. Normally, you want to be creating a little bit of pressure down that bottom side when Baron's on the map and Dragon isn't. And this gives the opportunity for someone, probably Skewer, but it could also be Harbo with that teleport, just to go down to that bot lane and not only create pressure on a tower, but actually take one as Skewer's diving forward. But he's going to be caught out by DBL. Members of Munster are here, though. It's going to be a 3v1. DBL throwing down the ultimate to try and get rid of the wing wave. But the tower's so low that it's just going to go down, as we already mentioned. And now Munster Rugby Gaming should be able to take down the Pirate, but Chicago's pretty low. Has to ult forward, won't be able to catch him. DBL diving away, almost gets to Viego, but doesn't manage to in the end.
It was pretty close though, and look at how much time it took for 3 members of Munster to take down 1 member of the enemy team. They lost quite some time. They lost the turret on the top lane. They lost quite a lot of prio there. There is no auto turret on the mid lane available for them as well. So right now, they absolutely don't have prio on the top side of the map. Look at the words. The top side of the jungle is fully in blue walls. It's fully for Lucent. They see almost everything that's happening there. Thank you very much, production. They can see all the paths towards the Baron, towards the lanes, if somebody wants to reposition from the Munster. They know what's happening there. Right now for Munster, exactly, that's what they need to do. They need to clear away this vision. They need to regain at least some of the prio that they desperately lost on the top side.
For Lucent now, maybe a little bit of a warning shot, maybe a little bit of worry creeping in a little bit. Not for Fuyu, of course, has picked up that grudge as the 3rd item, considering where he wants to go now, but it's 3 items to 1.5, and oof. Yeah, I know mythics are good, but that is a very, very sad state of affairs. Munster Rugby Gaming starting up the Baron. This might not be a legitimate attempt at a take. I think this one could be more of just a pressure bait situation, and they will back away, maybe looking to get rid of a teleport from Harbour or Skewer, but unable to do so, or a teleport from DBL. Rather, as they're the ones doing it.
Trying to get the Baron right now for them would be the absolute mission impossible. They cannot do it, and everybody from Lucent is alive because they'll be stuck in the small Baron pit. And for Rakan and for Volibear, it's going to be the excellent opportunity, and for Gangplank as well, actually, to jump in and kill everybody and take the Baron for themselves and be like, thank you very much for the pull, but we'll take it from here.
So Dragon's just going to be the focus. Dandom looking to try and set up Soul Point for Lucent. A little bit slower just because of that take from Munster Rugby Gaming relatively early on with the Hex Tech, and now it does mean that Lucent have something else to play around. If you grab an Ocean Soul, when you've got all of that sustain coming through, Munster Rugby Gaming can have a really rough time, not only fighting, but even just taking away the siege.
Exactly. I'm so surprised to not see any answer from Munster here on the bot side, here on the Dragon pit. Yes, you want to drag the attention to the top side, but you gained a lot of prio on the bot lane by taking these 2 turrets down. You need to keep fighting for the dragons because you cannot give this soul away, and actually you need it for yourselves to survive the team fights. And you just give the soul point away. I don't understand that.
The worry for me here, for Munster at least, is the idea that they're going to have to contest this next dragon in 4.5 minutes time, because they can't give Ocean to someone like Corki and Gangplank, because they're just going to be able to then siege to their heart's content, poke you out and make your life very, very unpleasant. That's not even to mention the Ezreal, who is probably going to be the biggest culprit of that when it comes to champions. And their ability to play around enemy towers is going to be exceptionally great, because you can poke it down, you can say, look, you're going to go to half health, the tower's going to be at half health, and then at any point they want, Dandom can press the button, the tower turns off, and you die. So the ability to siege is really, really great from Lucent, especially with how far ahead they are, and giving them regen if there's any kind of siege break attempted by Munster is going to be untenable, I think. So we're going to need to see a fight from them. And Munster, we haven't really seen a full team fight this game particularly. Yeah. So now it's going to be the question of, you've got good team fight tools. You've got the Nara ultimate. You've got the Nautilus. You've got ultimate from Victor as well. These things need to start working sooner rather than later.
the issue here is that you want to be fighting in an enclosed space because of the Ignite ultimate, or you want to be catching that Corki on the top lane, but not necessarily able to do it. Oh my god,
the
it's not
ring
fine.
coming in from the back line. No teleport coming onto the side as well. They've already got the first kill of the fight as Harbour goes down. Dokai will follow the aggression going through a Monster Up Gaming. Two of them flashed over a wall to try and make it work, but both of them are now dead. Well, two members are now dead. Revelius in the mid lane will be able to get a tower, but the Barons have been started up.
It's a perfect opportunity for Lucent to go for the Baron. There is still jungler available. There is still Viego who can jump and try to steal the Baron. That's exactly what they need to do. But there is Rakan, there is Volibear who can try to stop the attempt of the steal. Now the Baron is going down super quickly. Look at that. Monster are just running around. There is no Mega Gna available, so you cannot really jump in and try to control everybody with the ultimate. Oh!
He's gone over the side now. Skewer's trying to keep them low. DBL's the one that's keeping Baron alive as Skewer hasn't died away from Fuyu. Kurosh now returns towards the Baron. Dandom there as well. Goes over the wall to secure himself the purple worm. 5 members of Lucent pick up the Baron buff. Question is, how much can they gain with this?
It was an excellent zoning of that Viego, to be honest. They made sure that he had no possibility to get anywhere close to the Baron pit and then jump in potentially with a Heartbreaker trying to steal. And at the same time, they got now so low. They almost killed Skewer, actually. There, you could see that. And now they have 5 members with the Baron. They can push forward quite a lot. They need to pay attention to the sidelines, definitely, because their bot lane is still looking pretty desperate. And with the objective bounties available for Munster, and with the victor available for them as well, they can do quite a lot of split pushing for themselves here. What exactly happened here? Munster trying to go for that Corki, getting him all the way to the tower. But the problem for them is that not enough vision, potentially, for them. Not knowing that so many members of Lucent are coming, plus some teleports, I think, jumping in as well. They were the ones who got caught in the end. They were the ones losing 2 members with the Baron up and running. That's not what you can afford to do as a team who is behind.
Well, this is the question. I don't really know. The logic of that play is obvious. They wanted to take down Kurosh, but they didn't have vision on the enemy champions. And Kurosh isn't the person who's dealing out huge, hilarious amounts of damage right now in this game. He's just not the focus. DBL is going to be picked up, but he's got teammates there, and now there's a lot of trouble coming on through for Harbour, who's going to be deleted by DBL on the back. Kurosh showing a little bit of the damage that I just said he didn't have much of. But I don't really know the idea of committing 2 flashes to maybe CC someone when you don't know where the enemy team is, so the team fight... If that team fight had played out without Kurosh, which it almost did, to be honest, you still lose it, and you still probably lose Baron. You just gain a kill. But maybe Crack's starting to throw a little bit in Monster Rugby Gaming's shot calling, whether they can calm it down a little bit, be a little bit more disciplined, and allow themselves to get online is definitely going to be the focus, because they managed to crowd Lucent down towards the bot lane, looking to press in towards this inner tower potentially, but it looks like Monster Rugby Gaming are just going to death ball and try and force through potentially to gain themselves a bit of advantage before going towards this dragon. As we talked about, teleport coming in from Lucent, but this is quite an aggressive teleport. It's actually scared Monster away.
Lucent have so much advantage here. So much prior around the Dragon Pit right now, and Munster need to fight for this one because otherwise this is so lost. You need to have a team fight. Are you ready as Monster to have a team fight? Look at Scurry, he's already so low, and the fight,
nice
now it's starting.
Stun. They're looking to get onto Fuyu. We'll be able to do so with Skewer, but he's not angry enough just yet. Gets the knob, but doesn't manage to get the stun. Revelius has actually got the first kill of the fight, slaying Lillipants, and now looking towards DBL. Kurosh is there as well, but he dives forward with the package, looking to stun on Dokai. The damage is huge from Fuyu as he's diving around the fight. But now you look at this dragon, who's going to be able to secure it. Dandom needs to be able to get a steal down. Will he be able to do it? No, he's stunned. And the secure goes over. That is Shakal securing it for his team, so he slows down. No soul available, but Harbo's the last one standing. Fuyu looking for more kills, diving around, gets taken down by Victor. That could be massive. Lucent lose out on the objective. They take the ace and now need to push on.
There is 500 gold, I think, available for Victor, thanks to that Ezreal that he managed to shut down. It's good for him, but it's so bad for his team at the same time. They did not gain almost anything from that fight. Yeah, you got the dragon in the end, but you managed to get Ezreal to 9-1. You managed to give Lucent just so much priority everywhere because they're so fed right now. They have so many items, they have so much gold in their pockets. What can you do against them? There was a good call to go and fight for the dragon, but it was a desperate call because you know you have to do it. You have absolutely no other option.
We're going to have another look at this fight. So it was initially a really, really nice engage, and the damage coming from Revelius isn't a non-factor, but then things start to go wrong.
I see the focus here is fully on Fuyu, and it makes a lot of sense. You need to shut him down as early as possible. The problem is there is Lucent team that can stop you. First of all, there is very good understanding of Fuyu when he needs to be running around, when he needs to be jumping from the wall to make sure he's not cut there by that Mega Gna ultimate. And second of all, Lucent at that to make sure that their hyper carrier leaves. Everybody's working towards that main objective. Here, the fight is very, very scattered, but Fui just absolutely left almost unattended. He is the one dealing damage. Almost nobody up until Victor is able to deal damage onto them, and Victor managed to kill him just because Ezreal really wanted to go for that kill and he just jumped straight into him.
Taking so much damage. The re-engage going through from a little pad, catches onto one. Dogo's going to be caught out as well. Shakar needs to be careful. He's taken down by the cannon barrage as Dandom rips another to shreds. Skewers the last man standing, goes large, gets the stun, but it's a triple for Kurosh. Fuyu picks up another. It's a triple-double as Lucent should be able to secure themselves the game.
Triple double. I love it. There was some damage coming from the Jinx. Finally. Jinx with, well, two items and the boots and a little bit more, but it's not enough, and it was never enough. 25 is the kill score right now. Lucent are looking into securing this game for themselves. They were so dominant throughout the game. They started very strong, and they just did not want to stop at any given moment. And even though Munster were trying to fish for some fights, for some plays here and there on the map, there was just so much control over the map from Lucent. They were so dominant. What a good way to start the day today with such a beautiful game. 29 minutes and we have our first victory.
Very, very clean from a Lucent side that we've had question marks about for this entire split so far. Dandom, we questioned at the beginning of the game. Look, this is going to be on you. The onus is on you to get work done. He was like, yeah, sound, no problem. I'll go bot. We know Fuyu's good on Ezreal. This is going to work. And that's exactly what Lucent did. They got Fuyu ahead. Kurosh, of course, getting that first blood with them and left a little bit too. Your own devices, don't die. You'll do things in team fights later. Then it comes around. These two carries, they got ahead. They already had slightly easier item break points, and they secured the victory for Lucent. So massive congratulations to them. On the other side, we're looking at Munster Rugby team who came into the day second. Yes, tied with a lot of different teams. A bit of a worrying performance from them.
Honestly, yes. I lacked a lot of vision proactiveness from them. Proactiveness in general, but you don't really expect that early from such a composition. But vision was so crucial for them, knowing that their enemy team is going to try to be active. They need to, otherwise they're going to fall down so badly later in the game. You need to secure the walls. You need to make sure you know at all the times when the enemy, especially the jungler, is. And we did not see that. And whenever they were trying to make the calls on the side lanes, they never knew where exactly the rest of the enemy team was. And because of that, pretty often when they were trying to set up the trap, they found themselves actually being trapped instead.
Absolutely. We're going to jump to a short break now. When we come back, it's going to be interviews, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few minutes.